Today's date is January 30th, 1998. If you're staying in, the TV Guide offers you 4 collectible Green Bay Packers covers, including Brett Favre, thereby continuing their parade of sex offenders. If you're headed out to the movies, can I recommend Shakespeare in Love, starring Joseph Fiennes and Mrs. Goop? And can I unrecommend Deep Rising, starring Famke Janssen and Treat Williams?
Is that a real movie?
Can I just pass on everything?
I mean, Shakespeare in Love is not the best movie ever, but it's like perfect Oscar bait. It's like fine. And anybody who thinks that they can center a movie around Treat Williams ought to know that they're in trouble.
I'll take Steve going to space over that any day. I'm just saying, if those are coming out now, I am not risking my life to go watch either of those.
Come on, let's go to the movies.
Movies are back, baby. I love those. I love the ads now where you see that in big bold letters. Yeah. Movies are back. Well, the virus is still here, so I don't know. The virus isn't back. It's just it never left, so I don't know what you want me to do.
Yeah, you much like the pirates in Deep Rising, show up to a movie theater like they showed up to a cruise ship, and like they are faced with underwater monsters, you are faced with a horrible internal monster that makes your lungs bleed and explode.
Are you saying that they mapped that out and they knew that this was going to happen? That's a bold statement, but if we want to give them credit for that, we can.
Very prescient.
I am ready to blame the same screenwriter as the guy who is responsible for Brendan Fraser's Mummy.
Hey, you take that back.
Oh, no.
Same guy wrote and directed Deep Rising. And I would say sex offenders is particularly apt for this episode that we're about to talk about today. In the year of our Lord 2020, we are talking about an episode from January 1998, episode 208 of Family Matters Overall, season 9, episode 15, entitled Crazier For You, sometimes entitled Crazier For You Part 2. Which is really confusing because the episode that immediately precedes it is Crazy For You, or Crazy For You Part 1.
You can have a Part 1 and a Part 2. That's a different title, right? That's fine.
Can you? They didn't even bother making it Crazy For You Part 2 Crazier, or Crazier For You. That would have made sense, is to do a second portion of the title. That's not what they did. Directed by our new friend Hannah Montana's own Rich Carell. And this episode written by a gentleman we're meeting for the first time. He's written 40 episodes of this show, Fred Fox Jr. He is had quite a long TV writing career and worked with this production company all the way back in the Happy Days days. He wrote 29 episodes of Happy Days and produced a bunch of Happy Days and this program, Family Matters. He specifically wrote one episode that I think we all need to focus on.
Uh-oh.
This motherfucker! He did the thing! He did the thing that we're talking about every episode by mentioning the name of this show, which is jumping the shuttle. We watch Family Matters backwards, and we are for the first time encountering an episode written by Fred Fox Jr., who wrote Hollywood Part 3, the episode of Happy Days, in which Arthur Fonzarelli jumps over a fucking shark.
God damn it.
Oh, so that jumping the shark, that's where it comes from.
Oh.
Yes, you got it, John.
That does make sense because his name super sounds like an alias. So maybe he changed it after he wrote it.
You would think he would change it away from something and never again credit himself the same way. You would think that the last thing he was ever credited as was Fred Fox Jr. on Hollywood Part 3, but no, felt pretty strong about his performance in literal the cliche of when a good TV show goes bad.
It used to be Sam Shark Jr.
So what do you call it when like a bad TV show turns good?
Oh, I actually know this one. When I initial research, it's growing the beard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, apparently it's from Star Trek: The Next Generation. Riker grows a beard between season 1 and 2, and that's when it starts getting good.
Interesting.
Had no idea.
I'm kind of honestly disappointed that there's already a term for that. I thought we were going to invent it here. I thought we were going to be the pioneers.
The fine administrators of tvtropes.com have nothing but time on their hands based on my experience with that website. Let's jump right into Crazier For You, in parentheses with a question mark, part 2?
Maybe?
We get a rarely exercised previously on, which before we even start describing it, I want to talk about how crazy this is, because so I knew just based on like some scheduling stuff and research on the back end that there was a big gap between episodes in this season, that they ran a bunch of episodes through when they were supposed to in the beginning of 1998, and then there was a huge gap, and then they just dropped the rest of them in the summer, kind of unceremoniously finishing off the show. And I thought, oh, this previously on, obviously they're just reminding people it's been like 6 months or whatever since the last time you saw Family Matters. Here's what happened last time. No, that's not the case here. It was last week.
Wasn't this the last one they aired before the summer block?
Yeah, so this is January 30th. So the previous one where we see a bunch of scenes in this previously on just happened last week. They're just like inability to let any subtlety or like character interactions give you insights into the people's relationships and how they get off. It's fucking crazy that they don't believe in subtext at all on this show.
Well, you can't really have it when you only have this many episodes left before it's done. You know, like there's so much stuff to wrap up. There's just no room for it, Alex. There's no room for subtext.
No, I'm done giving them that excuse. We are giving them too much credit.
Especially because of the pacing that we find out from this episode. Because we find out in this previously on that Myra and Steve, who we thought at first, or I did at least, I think we've talked about this, is that we thought she's just like somebody who is an Urkel superfan, which she is, and like stalks him, which she does, but that was it. But we've heard trickles up till now that they at some point dated, but we find out it was right before Urkel proposes, apparently.
Yeah, no, this recap that we get, I think this is the biggest part of the episode, honestly, is what happens in the previous episode. So
that's so
there's
sad.
Probably the most to break down in like this like minute recap that we get. But yeah, this is 6 episodes before Steve proposes to Laura. So like you said, Steve is like actively dating someone else. 6 weeks before he proposes to Laura. And we find out a whole bunch of other stuff, very important stuff in the recap. It's crazy. I don't think that's really how it works usually.
That's plenty of time.
We find out from this episode that a little bit of crossover never hurt any relationship. Am I right?
Ooh, baby.
It's actually inadvisable, I think is the word that I would use. David, you would hit us with what happens, just bam, 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 back to back on this bad boy.
Okay, here we go. So we find out that Steve got a date with Laura, so they're going to go on their first date.
Again, 6 episodes before he proposes to her, he gets, I'm assuming, their first date.
It's totally fine.
No, it's not.
It's fine.
It's actually not.
we we find out that Myra has been spying on Steve through a camera in his glasses, where she looks at through this weird like DVD VCR combo keyboard that she has in her room. We also find out that her room is plastered with Steve Urkel wallpaper, which
I don't think that comes standard.
you never know. We find out that Myra's middle names
Yep.
are Boutros.
Which,
And-
do you guys... This is a reference. Do you guys know this reference?
I have
It's
no
insane.
idea.
No, I don't.
Okay. Boutros Ghali is one of the more famous Egyptian politicians of all time.
Oh, God.
He was Secretary General of the UN for most of the 90s, or like all of the early 90s, basically. And people mostly know him because he has the word Boutros in his name twice, even though the last one is like a combination surname. So his name is Boutros and his last name is Boutros Ghali, if I'm understanding the like name right. But everybody just called him Boutros because that's easy to remember. And then apparently these guys, just in classic sitcom racism, are like, haha, funny sounds. We're gonna give it to Myra, this character no one wants to be because she's weird.
Wow. I don't understand.
This all sounds
That's
great
worse
to me.
than that's almost worse. That's worse than it being random. That's
Right?
terrible.
Isn't it way worse than just calling it like
It's way worse.
Baba Ganoush, which is still like, okay, this is like a word that's like stereotyping a group or something, but it's not like a specific person that you're making fun of also at the same time. It's bad.
And then her last name is Monkhouse.
So
Yeah.
is she Jewish?
We really don't get any insight into that side of her in this episode. I know that the actress in real life was a Muslim. I don't know that they have brought that over into this character, but yeah. Myra Boutros Monkhouse.
It's just great stuff. And then we get a scene of Myra showing up at Steve/the Winslow house in a
Right.
trench coat. And
Let's just go ahead and call it Steve's house at this point.
he's taken over their house and their
Yeah.
show.
It is Casa del Steve, I think, for all
She's-
intents and purposes.
She's wearing a trench coat and flashes him, and he does a triple take looking at something. Her back is to the camera. We don't know. But
Yeah, what is the context there? I don't know what he says no to, but he says no. Steve says no to something, and then Myra's like, well, maybe this will change your mind, right? And then she opens the coat.
Yeah, well, like getting back together with her, I guess, because she's like, he's broken up with her so he can go out with Laura. But we're meant to believe that this is her breasts, but
You're not fooling me. There is.
yeah.
We have to. There are. It has to be snacks under there, right? Like food, like.
It's weasel dogs.
Now, my money's on it being the chips, the Badger chips. I think it's just a bunch of bags of Badger chips.
in the next scene, they're like making out on the couch and they pull away when Laura and Stefan get there. And Steve has something hanging from his mouth.
I didn't notice that because I was looking at the fact that Myra is fully clothed and she's wearing his, I don't know if it's his, but definitely male lederhosen. It's a dude polka outfit. She's dressed as Steve is dressed in the polka episode that we just had. And not in the dirndl, the traditional German women's outfit. Let me assure you, it is proper, like, lederhosen top, if, such a thing can be reasonably said to exist. But, yeah, I guess there's something that he's eating, some monkhouse meatballs. I don't know.
That was Stefan, though, right? I'm not losing my fucking mind.
Yo, yeah. I mean, unless it's like a third.
God damn it!
Third.
Don't even say that.
We already have Myrtle to contend with. We don't need more. And I do have a bad feeling that Myrtle is not the end of the extended Urkverse that is entirely played by Jaleel White. I have a bad feeling about it. I don't want to say this, but I think I have to make a prediction.
Predictions.
Because it's something bad is coming, and I don't want to put that energy out into the universe as if somehow I'll manifest it from this 20-plus-year-old TV show, but I'm worried.
Predictions.
I feel pretty strongly. I'm going to predict, go ahead and predict, officially predict.
Predictions.
That there are snacks under Myra's coat.
Okay.
And I feel good about that. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Predictions.
When we get to that episode, which I believe to be the next episode of our show,
Yeah.
this may be the biggest test of all of Steve matching his clothes to what he's eating, because he's eating something, and I don't know if that's appropriate.
Oh God. But Laura and Stefan walk in on them making out.
They are engaged, so there's no reason to think that they wouldn't be together.
I just want to point out, this is all taking place 6 episodes before Steve proposes to Laura. Okay.
Well, it makes sense that Stefan proposes in that same episode because they have established a long relationship for those two. Not so much for Steve.
Yeah, you always got to look out for the guy, that sneaks in
And looks
right
exactly,
at the last second.
looks
exactly like you and goes on one date with her. And
the amount of people who look kind of alike and then trade each other for spouses or potential mates that happens in this episode specifically is really on the nose in ways that I don't think they even realize that they're doing, let alone intended.
just to just so the listeners are clear, we're still talking about the recap right now. This is all in the batshit crazy recap. We haven't left that yet.
Yeah, it ends with Myra doing some high quality eye twitching, vowing to win her Steviekins back or whatever. And so it's very clear from the beginning that this is a Myra episode, and I've been dreading this next thing since basically we started this podcast, and I was like looking at actors' profiles and stuff. I don't want to talk about this, but the actress who played Myra, Michelle Thomas, is no longer with us. I feel like we need to just acknowledge quickly. In August 1997, Michelle Thomas was diagnosed with an extremely uncommon form of cancer. She had 2 surgeries in 1998 to remove 2 separate tennis ball sized growths from her abdomen.
Whoa.
Wow.
This is right after she had wrapped Family Matters, but after she had landed a part on The Young and the Restless. That was going to be her next big gig, and she was like in the middle of shooting that, and had to walk away. She had done 38 episodes of The Young and the Restless before she passed in December of 1998 at age 30. So just months after Family Matters leaves the air. She died surrounded by her family in New York at a hospital. She won an NAACP award posthumously for her role on The Young and the Restless as a best daytime actress, which is pretty awesome. Was survived by both of her parents, who are both still alive and both active in their respective fields. Her mother is Penwa Thomas, sometimes singularly credited as Penwa, who's an actress and an acting coach to this day. And her father is D.T. Thomas, a member of Kool and the Gang.
Whoa.
Oh.
a founding member, still plays with them to this day as well. That's got to be a pretty badass childhood to be growing
shit.
up with those two in New York, having just like cool people around you constantly. And like what she's doing is cartoonish, but she's very good at it.
Yes.
And obviously she has range. She's not just playing this one cartoony character. She had previously appeared on the Cosby Show as a love interest for one of the people in that show, and then moved on to Family Matters and played a totally different character, and then won an acting award for a totally different role on a soap. So yeah, shout out to Michelle Thomas.
Damn.
Yeah, really, she was really just getting going.
Yeah, really, absolutely too soon. I had like chills as as we're recording this is not too long after Chadwick Boseman's passing, under very similar circumstances of fighting this cancer that really nobody was talking about, but was like having
Unbelievable.
very serious effects while he's also shooting stuff.
Yeah.
Which I just cannot imagine
No.
Yeah.
the humility and the strength and the unselfishness to be battling such a hard disease, to be battling cancer, and to not mention it when you're around, when he's surrounded by people all the time, obviously being one of the biggest stars in the world. I can't imagine that. It's incredible, and it's very inspiring, no doubt.
Yeah, I don't it's awful. It sucks. Both of them gone too soon. So I don't want to dedicate our podcast to Michelle Thomas because I think she deserves better than that, and I definitely don't want to dedicate this episode of television to Michelle Thomas because she absolutely deserves better than what she gets in basically Myra's big send-off for this series. Because it's garbage what we're about to talk about.
Yeah, is the only other time we see her on the space shuttle?
No, we see her also. We're introduced to her in the very final episode. She appears for 30 seconds
At the house, right?
maybe total, as she pops in to check on Steve with the rest of the family watching the news. I don't have this information, but I have to assume that she was not around that much for some of the filming of the final episodes because she was already beginning some treatments or was having some doctor issues and stuff. That may be at least partially explaining her absence for a few episodes now, although also there have been just some characters who have come and gone. Judy Ann Elder playing the mom was gone for a full episode for really no reason that we know of, at least. So
yeah, Eddie's missed like 3 episodes.
Yeah, super weird. No Eddie in this episode, right? None at all?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We start the episode for real. It's time to get back to the yucks, I guess, if anything funny happened in this episode. Laura comes in through the front door. No applause for Laura.
Nope.
I'm going to point out this happens several times in this episode specifically.
You were applauding for Laura, though, right?
Of course, every time.
Yeah. That's all that matters.
I don't know if the audience manager was just like not doing his job when they shot this episode or what's happening.
There's some very questionable reactions across the board this one. So they were having a very off week at the controls, I think.
Laura comes in. She's bought a new dress for her date with Steve, which is very above and beyond, I would say. Yeah. And they say the name of the place that she went is Spoo. And I wrote it. I wrote
Sorry,
it down.
Come again? What was
I wrote
that?
it down. Spoo. As it appears in the subtitles, it is SPOO.
Uh-huh.
I did what I thought was a lot of searching for this store and found I do not know what the fuck they're referencing here. Did anyone sleuth this out?
I didn't.
No, I didn't even notice it.
I didn't spoo it out. The only.
So it's a verb? We're saying it's a verb for sure?
It's imperative. You have to spoo.
I'm not going to give him credit and say that it ever comes up again because it won't.
I don't get it. And Steve makes some dumb pun about, it's just like a rhyme, another classic Steve rhyme. David put that on the chalkboard of Steve rhymes.
God damn it.
For a minute, I thought you said it was named Boo, like B-O-O. It's like, that could be kind of fun. You know, hey, Boo, or you want to go to Boo? You know?
I don't get it. I like searched many combinations of things, have no idea what this is about. As if you can't at this time make the exact same rhyme with Fubu. Like, were they afraid of saying a real brand for some reason?
But don't worry, he'll get to see the dress when he picks her up for their date. But they both live at the Steve Urkel house.
Sure do. The whole purpose of this scene is to reestablish they have a date as if we didn't just see the previously on, and then also to make jokes about how Steve has no idea what women like in dating, which, no shit, it's Steve Urkel.
Yeah, but I want to know what 74 choices or options for dates he came up with. We don't learn what any of them are. Other than that, it's not going for a nice walk. And what were the other two that Laura suggested? Dancing, right?
Or
dancing.
Talking. He could think of neither dancing, walking, nor talking to do after their dinner. And that's it for that. Then we cut inexplicably to the same character re-entering the same house but through a different door. He's coming in through the kitchen. Urkel enters and no claps.
Maybe
here.
That's why I was so thrown off by it. For a minute I was like, where are we right now? Oh, because it just didn't feel right.
It's so
it was
weird.
the same character.
It's so weird. And there's no claps for Laura, there's no claps for Urkel, and I'm like consistently the one character we've gotten it with is Carl. Yeah, he also gets no claps in this episode. It's so fucking weird. It's as if they were like, there's no formula anymore. We've thrown everything out. There's only 8 episodes left of this whole show.
So Steve comes in and he calls Carl big guy, which I think is just a thing that's gonna happen all the time. And he gives him a dry willy.
Oh, I did not notice that. That's awful.
Yeah. As if he has...
Carl's reaction to it is amazing.
Yes,
I must have been making a note at that point.
Yes, he gives Carl yells at him to stop. It's so good.
Yeah.
His
Reginald Bell
reaction
Johnson,
is amazing.
he brings the faces on this show.
Yes.
He comes ready to just boggle his eyes out of his head and make somebody feel crazy, even though he looks like he's the one having a heart attack.
I think the MVP of that for this episode is when he's at the ironing board, just ironing the shit out of that.
Yeah.
That uniform. We'll get to that later. He's doing some great physical comedy.
And he's got some great react to a break things, just do a long sigh and a take to the audience. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, he's a the consummate sitcom actor. He absolutely knows to go to 11 every time, because the audience is at a 2 in this episode, a 4 on the best day, and you have to bring them up to something interesting at least. Which is why he super overacts on laughing at the idea that Urkel and Laura Lee have a date. It's the exact same scene that we have already seen, but that has not aired yet. But it's so weird that they would do the exact same thing twice.
Right. So we learn in the episode where Steve proposes, Steve has to talk to Carl about wanting to propose to Laura, and of course Carl laughs that off. And here we are. What is this? 5 episodes later, I think. And he's in disbelief again. It's like the classic like fool me once thing, you know. It's like he got a date with Laura, so now he's proposing to her. Like, you got to take it seriously, man.
They're getting married, and he's like, yeah, okay.
They're like, we're having a baby, and he's like, oh yeah, all right, yeah.
No, Steve Urkel.
Instead, he's just like, yeah, sure, go ahead and propose to her. You know, like she's gonna say yes. But he should have been prepared at that point. He knows that there's a chance that she'll say yes.
Carl, it turns out, in a lot of ways, Carl Winslow is not a man who should be giving relationship advice, period. Somebody who understands how men and women should interact. Because when he met Harriet and started dating her, that was in fact Carl two-timing a girl named Georgia. Back in the day, in the 70s, find out later he has an afro. Predictions! We'll never see it.
Yeah, I'd buy that. If we were ever going to see it, it would have been in this episode. I think they would have just cut to it real quick.
Yeah,
so.
Right. So Harriet walks in while he's describing, in all caps, the other woman, Georgia.
And he brings this up because, right, he tells Steve, like, well, you better be sure that things are over with Myra.
Yeah.
Right, that's the context.
Yeah. Because apparently Georgia turned out to be a total psycho stalker and like years later took her revenge on him, which is the beginning of a thought that I cannot take out of my brain.
Uh-oh.
Which is Judy Ann Elder is not playing Harriet Winslow.
Stop it.
Judy Ann Elder is playing Georgia.
Stop it. You son of a bitch.
No way. You're crazy. That's crazy talk.
Judy Ann Elder, who we all know as not the mama.
Not the mama.
Who has come in just for the last few episodes. She's in this episode. I believe she's in one other episode, and I can't guarantee past that. So we're very much approaching the end / beginning of Judy Ann Elder's time on this show. I believe in my darkest heart of hearts that Georgia found Carl Winslow again, and she somehow fooled him into believing that she is his wife Harriet, and she has like locked Harriet in a trunk somewhere at the bottom of a river.
So yes, the mama is still alive, but like in a closet?
No, that's fucked up.
Hold on. Because
hold on for what? I don't need to hear it anymore.
I swore that I would never go to the Family Matters wiki again. But I was desperately trying to find out another piece of trivia for something we'll get to later in the episode, because I could not figure out the reference that they were trying to make. And in the trivia section, there is a rumor that is unconfirmed, because it will never be confirmed because it's not possible. But there was a rumor from the writers that in season 10, if there had been a season 10, that's exactly what would have turned out to be the case, is that Judy Ann Elder was Georgia or another imposter, and the real Harriet comes back and is like Judy Ann Elder's sister or something, and then there was going to be like this very soap opera drama between the two of them. Despite the fact that obviously that wasn't going to happen because the show was ending, and like all of the behind the scenes drama that caused the original actress to leave in the first place.
Yeah, like she left the show. Why halfway during the 9th season? Why would she come back?
Also, I'll take Steve going to space over that any day. That is batshit crazy.
But regardless of like whether that conspiracy theory is of merit in universe or out, which both is no. I can't shake it because it's stuck in me right now, but it's nonsense. I know that. But it's also true. So there are lines throughout this episode when Carl is talking about seeing Harriet for the first time and knowing that she was going to be the one forever for him. But we know this is not the woman that he saw.
Yes.
I know. Yeah. When he says, right, he's like, I was so convinced I was going to marry Georgia until I saw Harriet for the first time. And in my head, I just said, not the mama.
Yeah.
when I saw not the mama for the first time.
Yeah. Not this lady.
You know, the more I'm kind of getting on board with this theory.
Yeah. Apparently he can't fully tell them apart, I don't think. So let that simmer because we'll come back to it several times this episode.
Do we have to? I don't want to simmer it. I want to just take it and dump it out. I don't want to go there.
Well, your brain will not feel better going to this next scene because we go to Myra's room, which John, take over. I can't talk about Myra's room right now.
I believe when we enter the room, she's looking at the gadget, the Stevie's glass cam or glasses cam, right?
Yeah, the closed circuit surveillance system that she's installed into Steve's glasses that feeds back to her room.
Oh my god. So I guess let's just set up the room first in general. Like her entire room essentially is a shrine to Steve. I think that's fair to say, right?
Yeah.
It's not very subtle.
Fair. Yeah.
The wallpaper, as we talked about, it's all pictures of Steve's face. Her bedspread or comforter is got Steve's face, a big Steve's face on it. She's looking at this glasses cam. Are there other details that I'm missing?
She's got a rug, lampshade, curtains.
Oh my gosh.
It's everything. And the fact that she like uses a remote control to hide the whole surveillance thing behind her vanity, it seemed like the perfect fusion of Hey Arnold's remote control room and Helga's Arnold shrine.
You stole my thing. You totally stole my thing. That's where I was going with this too.
Thought?
Yeah, because when Steve walks in, right, he enters the scene. I forget exactly when, but
really quickly.
When Steve, pretty fairly quickly. When Steve walks into the room, Myra tries to like play it cool, like play it down, like, oh, what a pleasant surprise. Like I didn't expect this, but like you can't really play it cool if like your entire room is a shrine to Steve. Like you just can't. There's no way for you to be subtle or play it down. So yeah, I was thinking in the scene, like at least Helga and Hey Arnold, at least her shrine to Arnold was like hidden away, like in her closet, Yeah. It was way more subtle. At least it was just confined to the closet. Like Myra's entire room is devoted to Steve.
Now it is possible that he's never been in this room before. He should be freaking out way more if that's the case. But we know he does not do the things in girls' bedrooms that guys who are interested in girls do in girls' bedrooms, because the Urkels wait 3 months after getting married to consummate the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the glasses cam. Yeah, it's got the Hey Arnold kind of tech going on there. And it's recessed behind this wall. She's got a remote for it. So she's gone through all this trouble of hiding it from view. So why does she then decide to label it? Like there's a label. I think it's like tape and like it's been, there's Sharpie writing on it. It says Stevie's glasses cam. Like, why would you go through all the trouble of hiding it from everyone and then label what it is? Seems very convenient for quick discovery in a TV episode.
Well, even after he finds it, he takes a while to figure out what's going on. So he's
True,
not the sharpest pencil in
He could have taken just one look at that.
Okay.
that label and pieced it together.
So that's the thing, right? He realizes that he is looking.
Do you have an answer for this? Because I think I do.
I think we both have the same awful answer. He realizes he's looking in a monitor at his glasses camera, and he's doing all of these takes, like turning them around and making funny faces, and they did not have the technology to pull this off. So my question corner is,
I have a question.
how many times did he have to rehearse syncing his reactions to the clearly filmed reactions that is on the screen?
He also, he is not looking at the monitor to see that it is recording him while he's making these funny faces. It is purely for the audience's enjoyment.
Yes.
He is not discovering anything in that moment. It is just, I'm going to make goggly eyes at this thing and reference G. Gordon Liddy, which is another absolutely insane old people reference to make on this 90s, presumably family show. Is that a name that stood out to anyone?
Yeah, these writers are so old.
No, I was not tracking that at all. I was too lost in it's a shrine to Steve, her entire room. I was just blown away. And yeah, it is fascinating. Like, do we question corner?
I have a question.
Is Steve ever in this room in previous episodes? Because I kind of got the impression that, based on his reaction, he'd been there before. Like when he says, like, "Oh, what does he say? Like, she's gonna have to spend a lot of time redecorating or something like that."
Yeah. He absolutely takes that stuff in stride. G. Gordon Liddy is the FBI agent who ran the White House plumbers under Richard Nixon, who sent the guys into Watergate to break into the DNC offices. He testified in Congress that eventually, the whole Watergate scandal. That's G. Gordon Liddy. And they want to make that reference in 1998.
You gotta love it.
When there's a president in the White House that has a lot of his own problems and shit going on.
Yeah.
But don't worry, that's not the last super old reference we get.
No, not by a long shot.
No. So Steve reasonably is like, you're crazy.
Quit it.
I gotta get the fuck out of here, and you gotta get the fuck out of my life. Don't fax me, he tells her.
Yeah.
Yes, don't fax me. Oh, so 90s.
It's awesome. And she absolutely does not understand
even
this
at
message.
the time, I don't think this is how couples were communicating with each other through faxes. So
that wasn't the number one way that you picked up chicks in elementary school was by fax.
Nope, I don't believe so.
Yeah, don't fax me. She's like, so when can we go out again? And he's like, blah, Urkel face, and runs out.
I was kind of expecting him to say yes to that for some reason. I don't know why.
Because he's crazy and unpredictable.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just like classic sitcom comedy where they turn it around. I was kind of expecting him to be like, sure, why not?
Yeah.
But
we do know that he's like totally dedicated to Laura, not just because he constantly says it in every episode, but also because earlier in the scene, there's this really gross thing where Myra says, "What proof do you have that Laura's really a woman?"
Yeah.
It's awful. It's so gross.
What the hell?
and he's like scandalized by this in a very like 90s way, that's like the most horrifying thing he can think of. He does in this, like, I think very like not nice, but at least a better instinct moment. He just like realizes this is really sad that Myra like will do anything to try to get him back. But God, they just can't let a single episode go by without me being like that there's somebody who's a predator in some awful, really awful way. And this is, I mean, she's been watching Urkel, we assume 24/7 with his glasses cam. In the shower, who knows? Like, it's fucking gross.
She has seen his Wiener Schnitzel.
Yeah, his weasel wiener.
You know who else is seeing some wiener? Harriet, after this sexy ass music kicks in and Carl's got 2 glasses of wine. I was like, oh shit, it's going down.
Carl is going all out. I did not look, I should have, to see if they replaced the record that they used in one half of one scene in one episode of this show so far. Carl is having, he obviously knows that he has done something wrong with talking about Georgia from back in the day. So he's trying to smooth things over by telling Harriet that she's the most beautiful woman in the world. Again, this is not what your wife looks like. And she gives him the super cold shoulder. Literally, like, gives him the shoulder at one point when he's coming in to kiss her. And she brings up again, reasonably, like, I didn't know that you were going to propose to this other girl. And then you ended up going out with me. Yeah,
it's funny because doesn't Carl say in the first time he brings this up with Steve, he says, oh, no, it's because Steve is trying to tell, not so subtly with his crazy hip gestures or movements or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever that was. He's trying to like tell Carl, like, Harriet's standing right there. But then Carl's like, no, it's fine. Harriet knows about Georgia. She knows all about it, is what Carl says. Except for this very minor detail.
Oh, she knows all about Georgia because she has lived Georgia's life.
Well, oh no, we're already going back there. I can't.
We're not done.
I can't do it. But yeah, it's like she doesn't know all about it. You know, this is a very important detail that he never, I guess, mentioned to Harriet. Is that, oh yeah, I almost proposed to her.
Yeah, I'm surprised that this show takes the almost proposal of Georgia and Carl as seriously as it ought to be when they have taken the real proposal that was really accepted by real people, Stefan and Laura Lee, so flippantly. The law of America is that if you're gonna propose to somebody and you buy a ring and you don't propose to that person,
Okay.
you throw that ring away.
Now you wait one goddamn minute.
I saw this coming.
Oh, yeah.
And I just wrote in all caps, oh no.
I also wrote, oh, it's the same ring. But I was kind of on board until she says it's engraved. And I was like, oh no, you lost me. That's it. You lost me.
I had my notes go, oh no. Did Carl give her Georgia's ring, which of course is her ring?
Yes.
And then immediately after, fuck, as the shoe drops. And Carl, in this scene, is waving it away as if like, oh, whoopsie doodle, my bad.
You mean physically waving it away?
Physically just flapping his arms all across this goddamn set. But later he will act like he doesn't understand what's wrong.
Yeah, that's true.
Although at the end of the scene, after Judy Ann Elder gives some fucking killer
So good.
lip and chin quivering.
So good.
I have never seen the like, including her, like in other episodes, she's done lip and chin quivering, unparalleled
Yep.
in the lip and chin quiver world, in
Yep.
my opinion.
Georgia all
She
the
is
way.
so good. Absolutely.
You know what would have been really messed up too? Is what if Carl had given that ring to Steve?
Oh my God.
Carl like doesn't learn anything at all. It's like he kind of does. Like, okay, well, Harriet, I guess, I shouldn't have used it to propose to Harriet, but here, go ahead, Steve. You can
Here's
take
the old
it.
ring.
Yeah. Well,
That would
okay.
have been so messed up.
He does like very flippantly at the end of this scene when after she reads the inscription on her engagement ring,
On George's engagement ring, we should say.
right, her engagement ring, which
No,
says,
Alex, we can't. We cannot. I'm
this
not
is
going
so
to
good. I
allow
love
this.
I love all of it.
David, you have to help me,
Oh,
please.
no way, dude. No, Georgia on my mind.
Unbelievable.
you know who else might have trouble telling apart two wives is Ray Charles, who wrote that song. Okay,
He
so
can't see.
all my love is what the inscription says. She is reasonably very upset by this, gives him the ring back, and RVJ's acting in this go-to commercial thing
Yep.
is as if he has only been snubbed for a bone sesh. Like, he was down to clown. He was getting the wine out. He had the romantic fuck music on. He was ready to go to Penis City. And instead, he is left alone. And I'm like, dude, he's like, oh, I got wine. Come on.
Yeah.
It's romantic night. And I'm like, you might have just ruined your marriage forever.
Yep.
This is very serious.
You know what would have been also really messed up is if he had brought in a dozen red roses.
Irresponsible.
So then Steve is then using the ring that was for Georgia to propose to Laura, and he's also picked up the idea of the red roses as well.
Well, that would also be a very irresponsible use of what I have to believe is a shared bank account. Put a pin in that for later.
Oh.
Cut away from all of the doors to the gates of Bonetown shutting. Laura comes in through the kitchen. The audience does not give a flying fuck about it. No applause, no nothing for Laura coming in here.
Well, but I feel like they have to be, directed to applause. So it's really whoever was guiding the audience.
Seriously,
I feel like they just had like an off day.
I mean, for what it's worth, this is another somber scene in which Carl explains the situation in simultaneously downplaying it and also acting like it's impossible that this is a big deal. This must be some man-woman thing, which, dude.
Oh, yeah, no, he says that. He says, what does he say? He's like, is this just some girl thing?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, come on, man. Are you kidding me with that?
Laura says, on behalf of all women everywhere, excuse me? And I was like,
yes.
How about all people who are in any kind of relationship ever? This is insane.
But that's not, that's like typical sitcom dad writing. Like I feel like every sitcom dad is written that way, and it's pretty terrible. But.
And also, he is asking his daughter how she would feel if she got a piece of jewelry intended for another man. And I'm like, this bitch gets engagement rings all the time.
She should not be giving advice because she
he doesn't know that yet. That hasn't happened yet.
Yes.
Maybe technically that whole episode, Pop Goes the Question, is a series of intercepting Inception
You're
level
right.
flashbacks. So that could have
Right, yeah.
happened already.
You're right. She's already
Maybe.
been, proposed to at Disney World.
Yeah.
Jafar, as we've established
Mhm.
many times in many episodes
It
of this
is
podcast.
Ironclad.
Signed the documents.
And we find out that at some point off screen, Harriet has said that she's disappointed in Carl. We get that whole cliche thing, that exchange as well. And we get the story of Carl picking out the ring after he had finished trimming his afro in 1972, picking it out for another woman. And that's the point at which he realizes the horrific mistake that he has made.
Yeah.
Yeah, Laura put it so well, too. She asked him, like, when you were picking out the ring, did you have a smile in mind? And he says, yeah, of course. And then she asks him, well, whose face was that smile attached to? And that's when he's like, oh, shit.
Well, the realization that he's having in that moment is that the smile is the exact smile he has been waking up to for the past several days.
No, that is not. That
this
is
my
not,
favorite thing that's happened on this podcast.
Let the record state that is not what I am saying. So if that's what you want to choose to believe...
Hashtag Georgia on my mind.
You know what? No,
Hashtag you chose right the first time.
Oh my gosh.
And we cut from Carl never believing that he will have romance in his life ever again to the most romantic spot in Chicago, dinner at Amores.
Not before we see Carl just going to town ironing that shirt.
Oh yeah, he burns a hole in his captain shirt for sure.
It's so good.
It's established he only ever irons when he's in trouble, so it does make sense that he would not realize in this scene at any point that his iron is not plugged in. So it's not a problem.
And of course, the restaurant's named Amore. Of course.
Yeah. It's
Amores, right? It's got an apostrophe.
It's Samori.
Yeah, it is. It's very popular nowadays. And
for anybody that doesn't understand that reference, you need to go to YouTube and search John Dacre, and you will find just one of the most beautiful singing voices to have
of a generation. Yeah.
Ever gone viral. It's pretty remarkable.
That's you're in love.
My name is Steve Q. Urkel.
Honestly, like when I saw the name of the restaurant, Amore, that's where my mind went immediately. I can't lie.
Oh God. Steve is wearing a suit from again, Laura is wearing a dress from a place that doesn't exist, and Steve is also doing that, which is he's wearing a suit from AMS, which is Atza My Suit. And I don't know if that's just supposed to be generally funny, or if he's making we're in an Italian place. These are jokes.
Either way, it doesn't work.
Yeah, I was gonna say either way, it's a fail for sure. Also, I was gonna say like what trendy real places for clothes would have been in the 90s, but I don't know. At that point in my life, it was J.C. Penney for me. So
Yeah.
I don't really know. Honestly, I don't even know. I hadn't even started going to like American Eagle or anything like that yet.
It would not have been appropriate for her to wear my go-to in this year of my life, which was Jinko jeans. I don't think that they welcome that at Amores.
Oh my God.
Based on how uptight the maitre d' is.
Oh boy, we'll get there.
Steve is laying it on super thick, and it's actually totally working on Laura. And also, Jaleel White is laying it on super thick, and it's, as in every episode, genuinely making Kelly S. Williams laugh. She's actually cracking a smile for real, and it's really endearing, actually.
It's gonna be such a bummer when she has to pretend that she doesn't like him.
Yeah, it is, but I also think simultaneously Urkel will be more and less irritating at that point.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot about him now that's endearing because of how like sweet and kind and supportive he is. And there's some of that earlier that we've seen in the flashbacks and stuff, but also he's a fucking menace.
Yeah.
Just when we get into full-blown catchphrase zone, did I do that?
Holy mackerel!
Territory.
Yeah.
He's eating one of those super hard breadsticks that I've never understood why places serve those, because they're terrible.
It just looks like a big Cheeto.
But without flavor.
What's
and
the
anything to
weird
enjoy.
the weird craft breadsticks that you dip in the cheese?
Oh yeah. Or honestly, it just looks like chopsticks. Like I'm worried that he's just eating wood throughout this scene.
Well.
And it is an unsubtle metaphor, because she says she wants to save room for dessert. He says, "What are you getting for dessert?" Or "What are you having for dessert?" She says, "Your lips." And he flings that breadstick so hard, because if you're not clear by watching this, he just ejaculated in his pantalones.
He's got a bread boner.
After that, he has the nerve to stand up in front of everyone.
Well, and it's also like Laura's already told her, like, you're laying it on really thick. And so he proceeds to call over the violinist and request a song, and then clink his glass so that he can get the attention of the entire restaurant.
As soon as I saw a violinist in the beginning of this scene, I was already like shrinking into myself from embarrassment. I was horrified by what was to come. And it's like, it is as embarrassing as it ought to be, but also like weirdly super sweet. And I was kind of like, oh, they kind of fucking nailed that.
And everybody in the restaurant loves it. She's having a great time.
Well, what happens is he says, like, he secretly requests a song from the violinist, like John said, and then he announces to the restaurant that he's going to sing their song to the girl that he has loved since they met in Miss Ostendorf's class in 1981 in kindergarten. And he proceeds to lead the entire restaurant in a couple choruses of "If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands." And everybody claps.
I mean, and technically, what did the violinist say? He says, I'll take requests for anything but rap.
Oh yeah, that's the weirdest fucking thing.
Not a good look.
Like, what the fuck? Especially like at this point in time, like rap, I mean, as it is now, like rap's the shit. Like rap is everything. But anyway, like if you're happy and you know it, it's not a rap song, so
the violinist does know it. It is worth noting briefly here. This violinist is played by a gentleman named Murray Korda. He has 5 total television episodes in his entire IMDb profile.
Wow.
He is on 5 different shows. He was in 1 episode of The Mary Tyler Moore Show. He was credited as the violinist. He was in 1 episode of Rhoda. He was credited as violinist.
Yeah.
He was in 1 episode of Laverne and Shirley. He was uncredited. He was in 1 episode of Mr. Belvedere, credited as the violinist. And he is in this episode of Family Matters, credited as the violinist.
Oh.
Wow, so the talks between the production and his agent must have been contentious for the one where he was not given his proper, violinist credit.
Times were tough in that particular chunk of his career, for sure.
I was thinking maybe there was just going to be one where he was a random other instrument, like a triangle or something.
This is his last ever acting credit, because this is not funny, but he died in September 1998, like just months after this aired. He's an old man in this for sure. I mean, he also was in the Mary Tyler Moore Show. He's been around for a while, violining. But he plays the hell out of this violin, playing a kid's song, and it's actually like, it really is like a really sweet moment, and Urkel kind of fucking nails it. And I like, for the first time, I see at all what Laura Lee sees in him.
It was good. I was not expecting that song choice,
No.
but it's like, yeah, it makes total sense. You met when you were in elementary school. Okay, yeah, I get it.
It was super cute.
I was really into Weird Al when I was in elementary school, so that would have been probably
For
my
sure.
first song.
I was listening to a lot of Space Ghost comedy music CDs, so I don't know.
Mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Or I think that I'm Blue song came out in elementary school.
Oh,
I
sure.
think.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. I think that might have
boy.
actually been a tiny bit after this episode came out. It's right around the same time, but right on the edge there. You know who doesn't think that this is a cute thing? Is the maitre d' of Amores. He comes over and insists that this is Amores, not a karaoke bar. As if You're Happy and You Know It is a song that would ever be performed at a karaoke bar.
Oh, it's not your go-to?
It will be now because I know the audience gets into it right away. I can win them over immediately.
Also, sidebar just for a second. Back before the pandemic, when we could go to karaoke bars, somebody had the nerve to select American Pie for karaoke.
The full version.
So I just want to say the full version.
Jesus,
which is like about 8 minutes. So I just want to say a word of advice. Please never select the full version of American Pie for karaoke. Nobody wants to hear you sing all 8 minutes of that.
And if you're listening to the son of a bitch who did it,
if you're going to pick any song, let it be Georgia on My Mind. It is applicable in this day and age. It was applicable for Carl Winslow in the 70s and in the 90s, as it turned out. I believe that's actually the official state song of Georgia. Fun fact.
Yeah, very original. So this waiter comes in throwing 100 miles an hour, and I was like, whoa. Excuse me, sir. Who are you? So I looked him up. He is an established waiter in the Family Matters Perfect Strangers universe.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. It's bizarre. Now, this one he has gotten a slight promotion because he is now the head waiter. He is the maitre d' of Amores. But yeah, he's been around for a while. He's got to be somebody's friend, right? He's got to be like the producer's friend or like the casting person. He is their go-to for waiterly parts.
Sure. What? That's such a weird, like, oh, you strike me as a waiter.
Yeah, well, okay. That's the weird delineation between these two day players is the violinist has always gotten a part because he can play violin. So if you need a guy who can play violin on your TV show, he's the guy in LA to call. This guy who has played a waiter one other time in 1998 in Family Matters, and way back in 1993 also plays a waiter, only credited as a waiter, which I have to believe is the same guy, is the same character in universe, because we have carried all the way over from 1972. Georgia eventually changed her name to Harriet Winslow, and the continuity is very strong on this show.
I'm not falling for it. I will not believe this.
I'm gonna gaslight the shit out of you.
I would love it if this waiter's line every time he appears too, it's always the same, even if there's no instrument involved. He's just always popping up and saying, "Hey, this isn't a karaoke bar," and the person's just like, "Yeah, I don't know what we were doing that made you suggest that it is." I would just love it if that's just always his line, regardless of the situation.
Yeah, he's waiting a decade for that actually to pay off.
Yeah, like it actually finally makes sense now.
In a bit that nobody remembers from the first time he appeared. So, again, they're complicating things in this episode in ways that they don't really fully understand. Myra shows up looking exactly like Laura, has like the same hair thing going on, obviously like a wig on the actress. I don't know if that's supposed to be an in-universe wig or not, or if she like went and got her hair done. And she's wearing the exact same dress from Boo, and immediately everyone is like, well, this is fucked up. But when she is like heartbroken that Steve is really in love with Laura, the audience goes, oh, and I disagree. Because this is not a pitiable character.
Yeah, that reaction falls right after we find out that, you know, as you set up, Myra is at this restaurant for Laura and Steve's day. We have no idea how she obtained that information, where they'd be going. She's dressed like Myra, and she says herself when she sits down, right, that she can walk like Laura, talk like Laura. I can even dress like Laura. And she had, will you love me now? And then that's when that reaction happens, that aw, when it's like, it's like you need, like, Myra needs help. You know what I mean?
Legit,
it's like,
yes, like serious, like years of therapy to like work her out of this situation.
So yeah, it was a very interesting reaction to what just happened.
Steve again somehow serves as the voice of reason and tells her that she needs to book herself in the presidential suite at the Rubber Ramada, baby.
That's a great joke. That's a really good.
That's a really good line. I didn't laugh. I want it firmly established. I have yet to laugh at this show in any genuine way. But that is a well-constructed line of television, and I will give them that. Myra is like, all right, I'll fuck off. I'm sorry for almost ruining your date. Here, let me apologize by giving you, Laura, my watch.
Take this watch. This watch. I was trying to make a Pulp Fiction reference.
Your grandfather's watch.
Yeah, where did she pull that watch out?
He shoved it up his ass.
Name of Wanaki. And the
weird flex, but okay.
My assumption, like I didn't even question it, is that this is another surveillance device.
Yep,
like, she's going to somehow spy on them. Was that your? So David, was that also yours, John?
No, but that makes sense because I was wondering the whole time, like, how did she find out? Or no, this would be for later. I still don't know like how she found out that they're at this restaurant, but yeah, that makes sense. She's trying to get back into spying on him.
Yeah, somehow that's not what they go for, because I guess they're just doing a setup for a hilarious credit gag later. No, it's not a surveillance device, or if it is, we don't find that out. It could be both, but it's a frame job. After Myra leaves and the lovely couple have a moment together, Myra bursts back in with a police officer saying, that's the woman who stole my watch, even though there's a jillion people who were there to witness what happened. Like, what the fuck is she talking about? Yeah, that's the end of this very romantic date at Amores. Cut back to the house. Harriet is, again, already inside, which means that, I mean, in this episode, her odds were bad, period. But I'm worried that Judy Ann Elder is going to get to the end of her time on this show, the beginning for us, and she's never going to come through a door and have people cheer for her, because on her first appearance, who's going to know who the fuck she is? Nobody's ever seen Georgia before.
Here's the idea. She can't leave the house because the neighbors will recognize that this is not Harriet, so she has to always conceal her identity.
Well, yes. And my other conspiracy theory about this
is...
Hold on.
I don't want to hear it.
Hold on.
I am vetoing it.
This is airtight.
All I will not allow it.
Every time we see her, like almost every time we have seen her in all the episodes we've seen her so far, when she is the establishing shot for the scene, she's cleaning something.
Oh no!
Like she's homemaking.
Oh no!
Yep.
She's got rubber gloves on.
And we also know that like she at some point had a job, but we know she never goes to it all time of day. She is in this house. She is keeping Harriet in the basement or the attic or both. And once a day, Harriet, a very capable woman, breaks out and somehow tries to escape, and Georgia has to beat her into submission with some object around the house, which is another good. This is another good reason why, like, flower vases appear and disappear from scenes inexplicably.
Oh no!
Is that
A good reason? No, there's no reason for any of this.
It's all coming together.
These are insane conspiracy theories. I will not be a part of this.
The one time that the real Harriet got a line to the outside, she was thwarted because Laura Lee went upstairs to go call Mission Control.
Okay, that's where I thought you were. That's where I thought you were gonna go with that. Yeah.
She finally got someone to pick up the phone so she could tell them that the captain of the Chicago Police Department has somehow not noticed that his wife is being kept in the house that they shared for 20 plus years. And unfortunately, back in the 90s, you can't have a bunch of people on the line. So Laura Lee picks it up, hears some nonsense, and is like, "Oh, this is Myra tapping the phones again." Click, 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 and calls Mission Control to get an update on Steve. It's unfortunate. She was so close to getting out. You can't deny it. You know you can't. You have to live with this. You have to live in this reality with me.
I do not at all.
She's in the kitchen cleaning. Carl comes in through the back door into the kitchen. He gets not a cheer, but a woo, because he's in a tux. So that does not count for me. There's no door cheering in this, and I won't stand for it. He is like, "Hey, I'm in a tux. Haven't you noticed that I'm in a tux?" And she says, "I figured you were posing for a wedding cake," which is a really cutting line that I don't think they realize like what they wrote there, because it's a perfect setup for her to like do a like the other shoe drops and she says for someone else's wedding or so like there's a whole like wedding tux dressing up thing, and I guess they just decided to make a joke about how people on weddings cakes have tuxes. Like, it's such a fucking crazy choice. They went to all the effort. And again, but this whole scene just further either proves that they have no idea the words that they're writing at any given time, or they have been trying to tell us the secret this whole time, and we have not been... Our eyes have not been open to see, and our ears have been closed to hear the truth.
I want to believe.
This is not an M. Night Shyamalan production. It's not.
No, because we never get the twist at the end. We just end with Georgia having taken over Harriet's life. He admits, the words are, "It was incredibly inconsiderate of me to give you a ring that was originally intended for another woman."
Or just really fucking stupid.
Which, yeah, is really understating it. But also, again, like, out of in-universe conspiracy nonsense. Like, this is another woman. This is Julianne Elder. This is not the original actress for this character.
Yes.
And they just keep packing these lines in. Like, this episode is almost over, and I'm shocked that they continue to just ram these things into it.
Yeah.
Carl is going to make it up to her by going out and buying her a new ring. Now, remember earlier when I said joint checking account and checking with each other before you make any large purchases, as I was loath to do in my relationship and caused some friction early on, and I very quickly turned around on that and have learned my lesson. You would think he would have done so after 20 plus years of marriage to another woman, but this one, he's probably gotten used to for a while by now. He can't go out and just drop several $1,000s on a new engagement ring without talking to his wife first.
This is all part of George's plan.
Well, what do you want him to do? Is be like, hey, it was really fucking stupid, but you're gonna have to keep it.
Yeah.
Given it's a big financial hit at this time of the month with all the bills that we have coming in.
Well, and he paid the extra for the engraving, which says, "My true love, Harriet," which again makes Julianne Elder fucking nail it crying. But again, whether you believe what I believe about the universe that we're watching, out of universe, this is not her. This was not the woman that he bought this ring for. He does in genuinely, I thought the one piece of actually good writing in this whole scene is he gets down on one knee and he says, "Would you stay married to me?" Which I thought was a really nice line. And Reginald Vell Johnson is a fucking champ. He nails it. His delivery is impeccable. And it's not over the top, and it just reminds you, oh yeah, this guy is he's an actor. He can just turn this on whenever he needs to. He just acts goofy all the time because that's what's demanded by those situations. And in this situation, it's demanded that he be super sweet and awesome, and he is.
Also, he how about this for a solution? He just he's just like, well, I'll get you a new ring. Just I'll sell this one and see what I can get for it.
It's not impossible. I know this because my grandma did it. She decided when she was old and had a little bit of money that her engagement ring / wedding rings were not fancy enough. So she had them melted down and reforged with more stones put in. And that's why I'm not getting an inheritance ever. But it's not impossible that Carl did the same thing where he was just like, look, I've got the metal. Can we just redo it? I'll trade in this stone, up it to a bigger stone, redo the inscription, just use the same thing. Let's cut me a deal here, man. My wife, she's not going to appreciate this checkbook entry at the end of the month.
Or this was after Titanic came out, right? So the heart of the ocean is up for grabs there in the ocean somewhere.
As we know, the Titanic did sink in the lake that is included in the opening shots of this television program that we're watching. So
that's right.
It should be no problem to just swim right out there and dive down. The episode is over when she says that she will stay married to him forever, which, again, a little on the nose about the length of marriages and women and who is actually married to whom and what faces are. I'm going to take her face off. But the episode is not over because we get maybe the dumbest, outdated reference we've got of this entire show, and that's fucking saying something. When they referenced a 1600s Viennese ballad just 2 episodes ago. The credits are rolling as they show the booking process, first for Laura, and a narrator is talking about how she was booked for watch theft and then released. They do, very interestingly, maybe this is why they couldn't delay the episode till the summer. The episode they say in the booking date that they were booked on the same night that this episode came out, which I thought was a nice touch. They planned ahead at least a little bit. Laura booked for theft, released, booked again for assault. Ha ha ha. Cut to Myra, who was booked for stalking, which is fucking crazy because they say that they conducted a search of Myra's house, but it was as part of this otherwise routine assault charge. Like, I don't understand why they would believe Laura that there was this extensive espionage operation going on and go check Myra's house and find out, oh yeah, she is actually an insane person who is illegally monitoring somebody who presumably Steve is the one who gave her the nicknames that are included in her rap sheet, which are Snuggle Buns, Cheese Knees, and Sugar Lips. And guys, one of those is not a good thing, I feel like. I understand it rhymes, and the people on this show are obsessed with that. But cheese knees, is that good to have cheese knees?
Well, he really likes cheese. Do you get it?
But
no, I don't.
I really don't get it. Is the problem?
Also, Alex, I believe in our first episode, you were the one that asked or thought that maybe one of the kids would get arrested, right?
Wow.
I did. Answer annex.
I have the answer.
I'm sure you didn't expect it to happen like this, though.
No. Well, and I expected for there to be like in episode consequences because of the dad cop
Right,
angle,
exactly.
and that is totally glossed over.
No, that's the
this
thing.
point.
We never hear about this again.
No. Urkel is also being booked, but not because he did anything, just because he wants his picture taken, and then he cheese kneeses it up for the camera. Ha 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 ha. Jokes. Now, gentlemen, this whole thing is, as I think we all knew immediately as we were watching it, a reference to the television program Dragnet.
Yeah.
And AKA the OG Law and Order, basically.
Sure. I was extra confused because, okay, Dragnet, a TV show from the 1950s. I think we all are at least a little bit familiar with it.
It's my favorite program, Alex. I watch it every night.
Okay, well then you have I would watch it because it's fucking boring. It's a great way to go to sleep. If you want to
Actually,
do
we
that.
got to wrap this up. I'm about to miss it. I don't know how to. People tell me all the time I could like record it or something. I don't know what that means. Is DRV or some such
gotta go to the
thing,
DMV.
DVR.
Yeah, and so you can get your Betamax and then sit down for a nice evening.
I don't know anything about that, so I just got to catch it when it's on, and it's about to be on, so we got to wrap this up.
Well then, John, surely you're more familiar with the opening and closing music for Dragnet than I am, because as soon as this starts and the narrator starts in like narrating their booking process and what they were booked for, I was like, oh, this is Dragnet. But then the music does not match what I know as the Dragnet music, which is the iconic dun 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 dun. Like, that's how every episode of Dragnet starts, and that's like the Dragnet music. This is the Dragnet music. It's just for the like later in the credits music.
Right, yeah, this was from like the
middle of the credits on.
No, I know.
I know you're a fan, but it really fucking threw me off. Like, I thought I was going crazy. I was like, what parody are they doing? I thought it was Dragnet for sure, but this is not the Dragnet music. But it is. It's just not the part that everyone knows. Which, generally, not a sign of a successful parody. They go so far in this spoof as to include the closing like in Dragnet and included in many, many shows, because it was this guy who produced like a bunch of cop shows back in the day, through like the 70s and stuff. The production company was Mark 7 Limited, and it was a famous, I guess, production vanity card, because it was a stamp was put down, a hammer hammered into it, the stamp came away, and it said Mark 7 Limited stamped there into metal or stone or something.
It's pretty cool. You know, it's pretty impressive, I gotta say.
Yeah, and they recreate this with the...
I'm being sarcastic.
Yeah, I mean, apparently this was groundbreaking for the time, and like people who were of a certain age remember it fondly because it was on a bunch of shows that they watched. But when they do it here, they just stamp the Family Matters logo. Haha, look how much we're committing to this Dragnet bit. Aren't you laughing, 8-year-olds who are watching this right now, who were born in 1990 and have no fucking idea what this is about? What I immediately go to is, holy shit, because the sound that happens with the stamp is there's a drum roll that goes underneath and then a metal hammer clang stamping this logo. That is the sound that is underneath the William Street production logo.
Wow.
At the end of almost every single Adult Swim show.
I had that exact same thought.
They sampled that sound because they're a bunch of old guys who were produced, like Mike Lazo and all those dudes who started William Street, who started Adult Swim back in the day. Like, they grew up watching these same shows that the writers of Family Matters at this time grew up watching. So they were like, hey, wouldn't it be funny to have that sound be on our thing? So they sampled it, and they don't do the same like stamp thing, but that sound is underneath it. So I've been listening to that sound for 20 years on basically every Adult Swim show at the end of everything. And I had no idea that this was a reference to Mark 7 Limited, the production house behind 1950s Dragnet. But oh boy, what a reference to have somehow made this more relevant. And that's the end of the episode. That's it. That's what we are stuck with. I'm so heartbroken that we have so little time left to see all of the breadcrumbs that the brilliant showrunners have left us from the very beginning to let us know that Georgia has slipped into place and taken over the life of an otherwise beloved TV icon, Harriet Winslow.
I'm going to have my red yarn board up in my house for the next 4 years. I will crack this code.
Yeah, y'all have fun with that. I'm not getting anywhere near that.
John was under the horrible misapprehension that it would take much longer for this show just to totally break one of us. Just to crack my skull open like an egg and pour my brain out onto the frying pan. This is your brain on Georgia. Any final remarks, gentlemen, before we bring yet another underwhelming, confusing, at times endearing, but mostly confusing episode of Family Matters to a close, and also our episode of Jumping the Shuttle?
No, I need to go ice my brain.
All right. Well, email the show. Let John know the truth. Let John know that you
Georgia gang.
You're connecting the dots. You're seeing the real truth. The hidden mysteries that have been unveiled.
The real truth is that people are unsubscribing as we speak because of this crazy conspiracy theory.
John, you are not allowed to report people as spam just because they're coming in on the Georgia gang, all right?
Oh, you shouldn't have given me control of the emails.
That is becoming increasingly clear every episode, I think. Just letting any ability to spread my own conspiracy theories slip through my fingers.
Also, my replies are more often than not just going to be, I'm not interested in what you're selling. No, thank you.
Please unsubscribe us.
Unsubscribe.
We do not appreciate the people who did not like our podcast but listened all the way to the end to find out our email address, signing us up for Bowflex emails.
Oh no, that is too true in this time of quarantine and gyms being closed. I fell victim to that for sure.
You got bowed.
I did.
If people want to get at us with the hashtag Georgia on my mind, hashtag Georgia gang, hashtag he chose right the first time, where do they find us on the socials, David Kenny?
I'm going to be checking these hashtags every day on Instagram at Jumping the Shuttle, on Twitter at Jumping Shuttle.
I thought for a minute you were gonna say Instagram.com/ I'm like, David, that's not how that works.
You can access it. The Instagram hates that.
And only like an 80-year-old person would say it that way.
That is, yeah. Currently, Myra is thwarted every day of trying to stalk modern day Urkel by being unable because she's just an old person who doesn't understand the internet now.
You can hit me up at tiktok.com/
And where can they find your social stuff so that they can get right at you, David?
Oh, come at me, Georgia gang, at DAK577.
You can absolutely get at me. It would make my whole life if we get some Georgia Spirancy posts at that Alex D everywhere that you have socials, that I also have socials. That does it for this episode. Find things about this and every episode online at jumpingtheshuttle.com, jumpingtheshuttle.space, if you can remember that any better. We got to get some return on that investment. Somebody has got to come to that URL at some point, right?
Yeah, I think it was one of the Washington football team. I just actually heard from them. It was one of the trademarks that's been held up.
Great.
That they were going with. So
I really wanted to have more interaction with the Washington football team, whose former Twitter account I have reported to Twitter a number of times, and Twitter did not get back to me. That's it for this episode. Please rate, review, and subscribe. It's dumb and everybody says it, but it actually helps. A rate a day keeps the Georgias away. I think that's what the common phrase is.